Joining us now, our good friend Roland Martin. Well, he was on CNN for a long time. He's had his own radio show forever, and he's a leading voice, I've always thought, of progressive reason, plus a good friend of mine, plus he's really smart, plus he's a good father, plus he's got a great family, plus he's cool. He's Roland Martin. He's with us now. Roland, it's been way too long, man.
Indeed. John, how you doing?
Good, man. How's your family?
Oh, good. My twin nieces, who we first got when they were a year and a half, now they're 16. So, my God.
Time flies, right?
Yeah, indeed.
All right, now tell me about your radio show. How's that going? Your TV show and all that.
Actually, the podcast is going great, man. You talk about, I launched it September 2018.
Right.
Last month we passed the 500,000. Last week we passed the 500,000 threshold in terms of YouTube subs, and then we're at about we've added 18,000 now in just 8 days. So we've been growing. Last month was great, man. We did more than 20 million views, and so it's been great. I've always believed in ownership, the ability to be able to chart your own course and control your own narrative. And so I've been having a great time. It's just been great just building.
See, I love what you're doing because, like me, you had to start out, in other places and, you're paid contributor for CNN, paid this, paid that. But now you control your own destiny. And so as we're expanding here in Richmond, in Virginia, with the radio stations we're buying, we need to get you on the air here. We need to get you the Roland Martin Show back live. What do you think?
I'm good. Sounds great to me.
Because you already got a Comrex and everything, right?
I've got all of that. I've got two of those. I've got, and it's so funny. I got to do this. There's this initiative I got to do. We got to shoot tonight that LeBron James is doing, and so the folks hit me up. They were like, "Okay, so we're gonna send you this whole media kit." So when they told me what it was, I said, "Okay, y'all can keep it. I already got all that sort of stuff." And I said, "We'll just send you the signal." And they kind of like, "Wow, that makes it easy." I'm like, "Yeah." So it's that's the thing, man. We're media is now the gatekeepers don't control everything.
Right.
Whether you're talking about folks who are on left, right, middle, doesn't matter.
Right.
And so the ability to be able to connect with your audience directly, I think, is just one of the more fascinating things.
Well, we're going to talk this week about you launching another live show or tying in your podcast right here because you've already got the Comrex Access, which I live by. I mean, I'm in the studio once. Derek, when was the last time I was here? February? I come in just to see if it's not burned down. I leave. That's it. But you go on the road. All right, Roland Martin, we got a lot to talk about.
Yes, sir.
I don't even know where to start. Let's talk about the protests, the movement, Black Lives Matter. What's the goal here? What's the objective?
I think what you're seeing is an objective that was what you saw during the Civil Rights Movement. You saw it during A. Philip Randolph during the 1940s when he threatened a march in Washington. I mean, the reality is, if you look at even the polling data now, you've never seen numbers like this where the majority of Americans, whether they're Republican or Democrat, whether they're white, black, who say, there are injustices against African Americans. I think that this is why the George Floyd death has changed everything. John, we literally watched the light extinguish from somebody's body in 10 minutes. And then we saw how this police officer literally put his hands in his pocket and was very callous about it. I think that just you're watching it and you're going, he's clearly going to get up. Clearly he's going to get up. He's going to keep doing this. And I think that's why you're seeing a significant amount of white Americans out in the streets. That's why you're seeing African Americans. And so it's understanding, what is unjust about this country and how we have to be willing to change some things in order to make amends. And I think that's what you're dealing with. And so you're seeing, and this thing is not just even, okay, if I go to the police. I mean, look at what's happening in the media world, where you have these editors who have been, frankly, had some discriminatory practices, who are now being called out and who are now resigning. because folks now have the courage to challenge power, and that's what you're also seeing.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I understand what you're saying, and certainly that was a horrific video, and the hands in his palm, the whole thing. Of course, we also have to remember about what happened in Brunswick, Georgia, which was basically, Roland, a political lynching. I don't know what else you could call it. I don't know how you would frame it other than that. So you've got several things going on at the same time, but let's get
in Brunswick. Remember, you had 3 DAs. The first DA who the cops there said, she told them not to arrest these 2 guys. Then the second DA pretty much acts as their defense attorney, and the third DA sits on it and doesn't move. And then only when the video gets leaked does the Georgia Bureau of Investigation come in, and within 24 hours they make the initial arrest. And so there you go. Wait a minute, hold up. How do you have 3 DAs? That's still law enforcement. I mean, and so it's just. And then you go Breonna Taylor. Okay, no knock warrant. Cops bust in. Kenneth Walker, a licensed gun owner, fires back at them. She's dead. He gets arrested for attempted murder for defending him and his girlfriend. Then now we find out that the cops didn't even turn their body cameras on. So then with a protest in Louisville, they shoot and kill David McAdee, who's a barbecue owner. And guess what? They didn't turn their body cameras on again. The police chief gets fired by the mayor. And so you're going, what's the whole point of having the body cameras? You don't turn them on. You know, I've long maintained, John, that if a police officer refuses to turn a dash cam video or a body camera on, or they turn them off purposely, they should be fired. That is a part of your policing duties. And so we're seeing that too. And so then we talk about just other different cases. I mean, we just got the video yesterday released in March from a black man, owns a store in Alabama, calls the cops. He's a law-abiding gun owner. Cops roll up, they see him, they punch him, then they arrest him. I think white Americans are seeing for the first time, in many ways, what we've always talked about. In video is forcing people to reckon with this reality.
Well, what about? I mean, you look at this guy in Minneapolis. Guy's a complete whack job. He had all these abuses. He had 10 abuses against him. I mean, why? I mean, aren't you concerned that the police unions are defending these people? All of them.
Absolutely. I think that. Here's the thing with unions that, look, what people don't realize is you have, and it's always very interesting. You have certain unions that are typically support a Democratic candidate. But guess what, man? People love if you're running for mayor. Who wants the police union endorsement? Who wants the fire department endorsement? Okay, everybody does that.
Right.
So what do? They also overlook that. They also overlook those things. When you look at a lot of these contracts that are negotiated, where 46, 48, and 50% of officers who are fired typically get their jobs back that they have set out. Then you have the people who may have these infractions on their record, go next door to the next town, and then get hired like the cop who shot and killed Tamir Rice, who got hired by a nearby police department. And so you're dealing with that. Now you're dealing with the negotiations. They were trying to put in some use of force rules and procedures. The guys are like, oh, well, if you want us to agree to that in a new contract, you're going to have to meet our demand for a massive pay rate. So it was like, so forget the actual concern for the citizen. And that's also part of the problem. And then the blue line protects itself. And that's the other piece. There was a video yesterday of a police officer in Pennsylvania who had viciously beat a protester. And you should have seen the hero's send-off Fraternal Order Police office as he turned himself in. I mean, they were just looking at it in Buffalo, pushed the elderly down and 58 members of this elite unit resigned from the because of this. Well, they were just following orders. And then, John, this is where I've been very critical. A lot of my friends for years, massive payouts of taxpayer money to pay for these police brutality cases, and I'm going, where's the outcry? Where's the outcry where you had millions and millions, upwards of more than $1 billion over the last decade paid out? And I'm going, hey, do you not think that this is wrong as well? And that's what you're dealing with. And so the entire system has to be looked at. That's why I think that the police accountability, the reforms are necessary, getting rid of these chokeholds. And this is not new. Remember, you had the chokehold issue back in the 90s with the Los Angeles Police Department. Why is it still an issue? Eric Garner, same thing. Eric Garner is a killing video chokehold, and the officer goes, oh, no. He actually wasn't being choked. And you're like, do they know we saw the video too? Like, we all saw the video.
Yeah. How much of this?
Painful, man.
You and I have a long history, and you know how much I respect you, Roland, and your views. And I've been railing against giving police these surplus military equipment, bazookas, tanks, half tracks, flamethrowers, cannons. I mean, anti-aircraft guns. I mean, I've been railing against this since you've met me. I think it's part of the culture that goes beyond even the white-black issue. It's just part of the culture. I mean, why are we still doing this? Why does a police unit in Chesapeake, Virginia need tanks?
First of all, you're absolutely correct. It is because, again, we have created this militarized state.
Right.
And people readily accept that. It's no different than when, some people, this is where people was funny when I had the Koch Foundation on my show. Libertarians were with black folks at the same when it came to the forfeiture. And so what was happening is these police departments were using these forfeiture dollars to do exactly that, to go buy this sort of equipment. And look, this is where these folks wanted to play soldier, and we have to take this thing back because remember during the civil rights movement, Birmingham had a very similar system where they used tools that were military tools, and so you have this, and there's this attitude of police. Oh, we need this to patrol our citizens. And that's just nonsense. And I think, look, you look at even with these protests out here, so folks gear up and they've got the riot gear on. So guess what? You got tension on that side. That raises tension on the protester side. But then you look at the other places where you have police officers, like the sheriff in Flint, Michigan, who actually walked with the protesters, who said, let's turn this from a protest into a parade. And he walked with them. Too many police departments refused to actually build relationships with the public, and where they say, we respect you, you respect us, you're going to protest, we have a job to do, but you also have a constitutional right to do what you do. And it just turns into this melee, man. And it's just, America has to come to grips with, we've got to stop this incredible nonsense when it comes to policing. Can you imagine a lot of these cities, 1/3 of the entire city budget is spent on the police department? So that's why when you this whole deal of defund the police, to your point, John, some people use the phrase demilitarize the police. Some use disarm the police. That doesn't mean you get rid of the police department. But what it means is if you've had cities that have stopped spending money on mental health services, and now you have police who have mental issues. Well, if you're going to keep saying fund something else in the police department, but you're cutting mental health services, you're actually exacerbating your problem. And that's why I think people need to stop just jumping to defund the police. That's why they get rid of. I was critical of Meghan McCain yesterday. She jumped out there and she's like, well, I'm just learning about these things, and I'm going, well, why don't you actually go do some research? And I think we have to take a critical at how we fund departments, look at these contracts, look at qualified immunity. And John, you know what the most embarrassing thing? The fact that, again, that blue wall where officers feel as if they need to protect each other, and they lie. I had District Attorney Paul Howard of Fulton County on. There's a video where those cops snatched those two students from Morehouse and Spillman out of their car in Atlanta. What was stunning about that, John, was that they had the body camera footage, and then one of the officers, he pulls his gun out. Well, when it was all over, another officer asked him, "Why don't you pull your gun out?" Guess what the cops said? Well, they flashed guns at him. They never did. The body cam footage proved it. And the instinct by a lot of police officers to lie on a police report, to help the fellow officer, Laquan McDonald, Slager when he killed Walter Scott, that's also what's frustrating. I remember there was a judge in Chicago, John. This is amazing. He got so sick of the officers lying, he reported about 8 cops to the police oversight board, and he said they knowingly lied on the witness stand during their testimony. But the culture accepts that, and that has to be unacceptable for all Americans.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I was told this story. I got pulled over on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. It was about 3 years ago. African-American officer pulled me over because I had headphones on, and you can't have them on two ears, right? That's a law in Virginia. I kind of forgot. It was like 4 a.m. I was going up to the Eastern Shore to somewhere, and so he pulled me over, and that's fine. I got a ticket, $250 fine, whatever. And he had taken my license, and he didn't give it back. So he gives me my ticket, and I'm trying to go, and I'm like, oh, I didn't get my license back. So I walked down to get it, and I'm like, sir, you didn't give me my license back. And he says, stop. I did, and I'm like, sir, I can't leave. I don't have a driver's license. May I have it back? And so I took another step toward him, and he pulled out a gun and went in, squat position with 2 hands. And I'm like, don't shoot. Like, I just want my license. Because, that's kind of the mentality. But, look, I want to get to 2 things.
Sure.
We have all these protests. I don't even want to get into the violence because obviously you agree with me. You can't have that, and the whole thing got hijacked. But what is the outcome you want? What do you want at the end of this thing? What's the goal here?
I do. First of all, I certainly want the protest to continue. Here's why. Because I think the problem in this country is we are very good at, okay, can y'all just stop and then this thing will just go away. I think we have to. This is a reckoning. This is a moment that we're in where we're dealing with a reckoning, where you're looking at police reform, but you also are looking at what we consider to be the inequalities, in this system that have to be addressed. John, one of the things that I've always believed, and it's the hardest thing in the world, is that even with all the laws we pass, things along those lines, the reality is America has never really and honestly confronted the issue of race in this country. I've always said that South Africa, 100 years from now, will be in a better position than the United States because they had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission where they had to confront the horrors of apartheid and put it all out there. And I think too often in this country, we're so quick to try to move on. And I think that if you look at what took place during after the Civil War with Reconstruction, it was really only the nation only really focused on that for 5 or 7 years and lasted 10 to 12 years for the Great Compromise of 1877 that ushered in the era of Jim Crow, 92 years. And then you go through Jim Crow, and then of course you had 13 years of the Black Freedom Movement, Civil Rights Movement, and then folks are like, okay, we passed these 3 acts, so everything is all good, and it's like, actually that's still not the case. And I think this is causing an awakening. I think it's very interesting watching these discussions, and a lot of these kids are shooting it between white mothers and fathers and their children, and how they are vehemently disagreeing with inequality in this country. And so the reckoning needs to happen. We're 23 years away, John, from America becoming a nation majority of people of color. That's real. That's right now. A majority of children in America under the age of 18 are people of color, and we have to confront a system that, again, where racism is real, discrimination is real, and we have to deal with that, and we just can't keep running from it. And so I would hope government officials are saying, okay, how do we do that in our system? I would hope these corporations do that. Because let me tell you something. I'm sick of all these people. First of all, I appreciate companies releasing statements. But what I need to happen is for those companies to now look inward and say, wait a minute, what's happening inside of our company? Are you, do you have, so you release, you say, oh, Black Lives Matter, but you got no black board members. You've got no black senior executives. You've got doing no business with black businesses. Oh, but so I keep saying, well, if Black Lives Matter, do black employees matter? And it's forcing people to come to grips with really what's happening inside of their companies as well. That introspection, I think, is important. Hopefully it is happening across the board, and that people are saying, okay, that's not right now. How do we fix it? We've ignored it for so long. Now how do we fix it? That's what I'm hoping happens. And it's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to happen in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen in a year. It's going to require a lot of work because it didn't get built in just a year.
So you're not looking for specific legislation per se, Roland Martin. We got a couple more minutes. We're going to extend this, Derek, with Roland's got a lot to say. So there's not like a specific legislation. You want a reckoning. Is that my understanding?
But it includes specific legislation because it does include that. Reality is.
So you want a reckoning, and then, but you also want specific legislation. Does that legislation revolve around police enforcement, like the Democrats led by Pelosi did yesterday, body cams at all times, eliminating chokehold, letting police officers get sued, and I think the fourth one was if you have abuse, making that public record. Is that the goal?
That's certainly a part of it. See, that's the federal level. So you got to remember, most of these issues you deal with on the policing end really are happening with city councils, county governments, and state government. And so they action. And so you have.
We got to do this on a weekly basis. We'll get a schedule that works for you. I'll send you when I'm done today, I'll send you my IP address here for you to hook up with Comrex going in the forward so we have a cleaner connection. But Roland Martin, as always, I respect you a lot. I appreciate your time and perspective. Thank you, Roland.
Appreciate you.